This is not part of it. You are not part of this, bro. You are not part. You can't be mad at my hand gestures while I'm recording my podcast. Like, audience, I'm gonna keep this in there because I hope you all have a laugh. It's Sunday evening or afternoon, and we're doing this. This is a question of this interview, and I know I told you way back when I was introducing season 2. I mentioned that most of the questions will be true or false, or multiple choice, but some will be fill in the blank. Once we get to know each other more and warmed up to each other, right? Or warmed up to the idea of the questions. Okay, I think we're a little warmed up now because I have this fill in the blank or short answer question that I will give you, and I hope you get the answer. Let me know on the diverse social medias what you think of it. If you like it, if you don't, if you want me to stick with the true or false questions or the multiple choice questions because you feel like this is doing the most, let me know. Okay, all right, let's do this. Here's a question. What's the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? What is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? The answer will be at the end. Enjoy. Hey y'all, I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode of Healthcare Boulevard. This is a podcast where we shine more light on healthcare, and our goal here is to provide more options to people looking to choose healthcare as a career path, regardless of their background. My name is Sena Kakpomo, and I am your host and creator here. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Remember, you can tune in on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. We are back with another episode, another interview, and I'm here today with Danielle. She is a nutritionist, and let me have her in and we'll get right into it. Danielle, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am well, thank you. As per usual, we are early, and so let's dive into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been a dietitian for the past 4 years, doing everything from cooking demos and corporate wellness, long-term care, to outpatient and inpatient nutrition counseling. And I got into nutrition when I was in high school, and as I grew in the path to become a dietitian, I thought dietetics was about preaching weight loss, like that's all we did, but kind of learned that health is so much more than that. So now I practice from a non-diet health at every size approach. And then I've also been running since 2012, and I'm a total running nerd. So I became a certified running coach so I could combine love for nutrition, love for running together to help clients reach their goals.
That is actually the first time I've ever heard running coach.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense because so are you then working with people who want to run a marathon type of thing, training for a marathon? Is that what you're working with, or what are some of the goals that you're helping people with as a running coach? Let's start there.
Yeah, so my target population is people who are new to the sport, who want to learn more about running, and then people who want to explore distance running, so like the half marathon, marathon distance, just because I want to get them to the start line and the finish line safely. So not building up mileage too soon or not fueling properly. So I just want to help guide them as safely and as possible and like make it as fun as possible.
Now, how do you do that I get doing that from a personal training point of view. How do you do that from a nutritionist point of view? And do you work with a personal trainer, or do you do both? Do you have a training in robust training of how to, help with running?
Yeah. So as far as like the strength and cross training side of things to keep the body strong, I'll refer them out to a personal trainer or even physical therapist if needed. But I can help them design mileage around their schedules. So when to fit in the long runs, when to fit in like the tempo runs, and then just make sure that they have that guidance. And if something comes up, they can't make it to that run, adjusting their schedule so that they're still getting the bulk of it in, one missed run isn't going to ruin anything.
Right, right. Okay. So tell me, how did you get into, I know you told us a high school, but what was the event around you deciding to become a nutritionist?
Yeah, so back in high school, my brother and I started learning about nutrition around the same time. And so we would talk about it a lot. And once I learned that I could make a career out of talking about food all day, I was like, yeah, this makes complete sense. And I just really like how food it connects people. And so when I get to talk to people about it and see like the passion that they bring into the conversations, I think that's one of my favorite parts.
I love it. I love it. Now, as far as you do run an LLC, how did you get started with that? And what was the reason and passion behind that?
So before I started that, I started it while I was working at a hospital. At the hospital, it was a lot of inpatient nutrition, working with oncology patients. And I really liked that population because nutrition was so important, but didn't really get to follow up with patients long term. And then pandemic fatigue, and then the very evident weight stigma that's present in healthcare kind of made things difficult. So pandemic taught me like the idea for a private practice was always in the back of my mind. So decided, why wait any longer? So my husband and I started researching it and learned that it is a lot of paperwork, but it's not as stressful as it seems.
Interesting. Now, what are the I guess demographics of clients or patients you work with in your private practice versus the hospital? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the hospital, but I'm trying to get an idea of who are your clients in your private practice.
Yeah, so of course, I welcome people who want to learn just about general nutrition. Like, I'm happy to talk about it all day. But as far as like the people who I really enjoy working with is people who have like tried diets many times in the past, like they're broken down with like their body image, they're just not happy. So I want to help people realize that like your weight is not the definition of your health. There's so many other things that we can talk about. It could be like running a marathon or spending time with your kids, like hanging out with them, running around, doing things that you enjoy, cooking foods that you enjoy. And so that, and then of course the runners.
Right. So when you're working with clients then in the hospital, what are other healthcare professionals who are in your setting or in your team, I should say?
Yeah, so that when I was there, it was part of like the multidisciplinary team. So pharmacists, doctors, nurses, speech therapists, and that was very valuable just because like nurses spend a lot more time with the patients than I did. Right. So a patient might tell me one thing, but then I'd get like the inside scoop from the nurse instead. Yeah. So having that communication and being able to share concerns with the doctors and have the doctors take that into account was very valuable.
Yeah, it's definitely funny that you say that. It seemed to be across the board, where in sometimes patients would tell one thing to say the intake nurse, but then go to the MD or the PA or whoever the provider is, and sometimes it's totally different. Sometimes it's the same thing. It just gives you more information, and you just gotta be able to. And it makes it so that if you are like in my situation, for example, you know, when I have an MA or nurse doing the first 2 or 3 steps of my SOP notes before the patient even gets to me, I can't just take it from there and move on. I had to confirm what was on the HPI and what was in the OS, because otherwise sometimes it's like, wait, hold on, let's dive in. Let's get
keeps you on your toes.
Yes, it does. So it's funny to see that it's across the board, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, what are some of your challenges you faced in being a nutritionist?
Yeah, I think it's tough because, like, as a dietitian, I practice medical nutrition therapy, which is a legally protected entity. But I feel like sometimes I'm constantly having to like defend myself or prove myself against people who don't necessarily have like the appropriate credentials to be giving nutrition advice. Usually people who are like self-proclaimed nutritionists. And so
you mean the influencers?
Yes, I do.
Oh, I know
yes,
what you
I
mean.
do. But it kind of scares me that like a lot of people don't know the difference between like a dietitian and a nutritionist, and so those people can be going to somebody who doesn't have the background or appropriate credentials, and that could lead to eventually like disordered eating or like potentially dangerous like drug or food nutrient interactions, like if things aren't planned out or supervised.
Yeah.
So it's concerning at times.
Yeah. Now, what are the differences, if any, between a nutritionist and a dietitian?
That's a good question. So for a dietitian, we have to have a bachelor's degree, and starting in like 2 more years, it's going to be required to have a master's. After that, we do a 1,200-hour internship with different rotations. After that, we take an exam. After that, we have to do continuing educations for so many every 5 years, and some states require a license, some states don't.
Okay.
Whereas a nutritionist can do anything from taking like an online course to just calling themselves a nutritionist. It's not legally protected.
Gotcha. So that's the main difference. Okay. Because I have seen that, and I had a nutritionist on yesterday that I was sort of asking that in terms of what are then the difference between those of you who got the bachelor's degree and did the education and got the certification. I mean, it took you at least 4 years to get to where you are, right? Versus, and I've seen it and I've almost got it myself just because I really do enjoy nutrition. And those certificates that you can get online, whether it's nutrition or personal training, and it's like maybe a couple months or what have you.
Yeah.
Not to downplay that, but I was trying to figure it out. There must be a difference in play in terms of practicing and credentialing and ability and how in depth you can go in helping people with their nutrition. 4 years versus maybe 4 months. It can be on the same page.
And I definitely appreciate the passion that nutritionists bring. I love that people enjoy the food aspect, but like as far as hospitals and like larger organizations, they're 99% of the time going to be looking for dietitians over nutritionists.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. What are some leadership and why am I losing? It's right in front of me. What are some leadership and growth opportunities as a dietitian or nutritionist?
Yeah. So as a small business owner, I love that there's so many different paths that it can go. And so for this upcoming year, I'm looking forward to sponsoring my first road race, getting my name out there. And I think that's really important, just being in the community, because like the more often that I show up and the more people know who I am, the more that I can get the message out that dietitians are the go-to nutrition people. And then I'd also like to kind of learn how to leverage my social media a little bit better. And as far as leadership, for the dietetic internship, we have preceptors who kind of lead our rotations and teach us for a couple weeks at a time. So I'd love to become a preceptor in the next year or so, just so I can share my knowledge and keep the nutrition interest alive.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, how is work-life balance for you?
Yeah. So working at the hospital during a pandemic definitely taught me that my mental health and family time are two of the things that I value a lot. And so being my own boss has allowed me to set my own schedule, and I can take a mental health day if I need to. And then I'm also able to take on projects that energize me instead of something that I'm dreading and gonna put off for days and days. So I feel like there's been a good balance.
Yeah, that's fair. how was the pandemic? How did that affect you as a dietitian?
A roller coaster of emotions, for sure. Between like those first several weeks when it first started, like just the terror of and uncertainty, to like a couple months later, like, oh yeah, this is fine. Like I've gone this far without getting COVID, to then just the burnout, like patients and their conspiracy theories and people not taking it seriously. So it has changed me, some ways for the better, some ways for not. But I feel like that could be said for a lot of people.
Yeah. It was a tough time, right? And we're still riding the ride a little bit, but we're at a point where we're like, all right, you've been around for 2 years. we know what you're about.
Yeah, we're not quite as scared anymore.
Exactly. But yeah, don't we love the conspiracy theories? Don't we love
Yeah.
that?
At least it gives us a laugh.
Exactly. If nothing else, look at the positive side. Okay. Now, what do you do for fun?
So they say like the state of flow, when things just time passes forever, and you start something at noon, next thing you know it's 4:00. The only thing that I've ever noticed to get me into that state has been playing guitar. I played since I was like 10 years old, and I'm not great at it at all. I don't play for other people, but I love learning new songs or working on like chords that I have tried to master for a long time. And other than that, I'm a big music fan, so anytime I can go to concerts. I will say concerts since the pandemic, slightly less enjoyable. Much more aware of my surroundings.
Yes, you're more like, oh no, there are faces around me.
And singing with a mask on, I don't know.
Yeah, that's not the same. It's not.
But yeah, spend a lot of my weekends doing road races, and I also like traveling and exploring new places through food.
Food is amazing. I love that. That's one of my favorite thing about traveling is food and the culture. I'm like, okay, what do you eat? Let me eat some authentic wherever I'm at.
Oh yeah.
It's always different and new and different mixture of spices. Oh, love it.
I plan my trips around food. The best.
Yes. I love it. Now, as leading to our last question, what do you do to keep your knowledge up to date?
I really liked going to conferences, but of course those are few and far between these days. So in the meantime, I've been doing a lot of like webinars and continuing educations, and they've been focusing on like eating disorders, so I could learn more about that. And of course, it's become more popular lately, but how health and nutrition are related to social justice issues. That's been a really good learning opportunity.
That's real. And lastly, what are some advice you may want to give to somebody wanting to be a dietitian?
That is a great question. For people who are either starting their dietetic internship or starting like their first jobs, I know that it can feel like it, but 9 times out of 10, there is no such thing as a nutrition emergency. So I know it can feel very overwhelming in the moment, like you got to get it done, like stat. And while it is important to be punctual, no nutrition emergencies. So remembering that, just a reminder to slow down and breathe. It's all going to be okay.
It's all going to be okay. I love that. I really wish I could say that for my field. Be like, there is no.
That's true. Yeah.
But you know what? I sort of carved myself out of that by not working in the ER. That was one thing I was like, I can't do the ER. It's just, it's not my style. It's not, you know what I mean? And I really appreciate those who do it, because then I don't feel like I have to.
Exactly. See, we all have our different strengths.
We do. Exactly. We do. And Danielle, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining and shedding more light on your profession and what you do. Now, where can people find you and your LLC?
Yeah, so my website is southernnutrition.org, and then my Instagram is traveling_nutrition. If you search Southern Nutrition, it will also show up.
All right, I got you. And I will put all of those on there. And of course, when I share the episode, you guys will be able to reach out to her. If you need something about nutrition, I'm sure she'll be ready to talk to you all about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Of course. You have a beautiful rest of your Sunday.
You too.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right, here for the answer. So I like this phrase. I feel like it puts it very simply. It says, every dietitian is a nutritionist, but not every nutritionist is a dietitian. So, as you may have heard, not may have, but if you did listen to the episode, you heard Danielle mention it, and that is that dietitian is more so used for people who went to school, got their bachelor's degree, passed their certification exam, and are practicing as at least in bachelor's degree level, right? They spend at least 4 years studying and getting ready to train people on the diet and such. Now, nutritionists are more so, the term is more so loose in terms of they are not necessarily dietitians, right? Nutritionists can be dietitians if they went ahead and get their bachelor's in diet. I want to say diet. If they went ahead and got their bachelor's in nutritionist, in nutrition or dietitian, I forget about it. You get the point. If they got the bachelor's, right? So nutritionist is more so used to direct or designate somebody who perhaps got a certificate, and we do have a lot of different options to get more knowledge about nutrition and so forth. In that programs like that are usually less than 4 years for sure, likely usually less than a year, to be honest. And so the two can be used intertwined. Oh my god, I can't speak. What's the word? The two terms can be intertwined, but they are not interchanged. Thank you. The two terms can be used interchangeably, but they are not necessarily the same. So a dietitian is more so, quote unquote, if I had to use a word to simplify, it would be more higher ranked because they spend more time getting their education, the 4 years, versus a nutritionist more so would be somebody who is more knowledgeable about nutrition, but didn't necessarily go through the whole going to school and do a bachelor's degree specifically in nutrition. So I hope that helped. This was a lot of talking, but yeah, y'all have a beautiful day. Again, thank you for the subscriptions, likes, sharing, and all the love you give to the podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're a real estate person or would like to learn more about real estate, or would like to see somebody's journey through real estate and the lessons learned as they are learning it themselves, go ahead and check out Mo's Real Estate. I think you'll enjoy. And if you're somebody who are into real estate and want to interact with somebody who is in real estate, like my husband, go ahead and check it out. And I'm sure if you give him a shout out, he will love to connect with you. He's a big networking person. He's networking from sun up to sundown. So, yeah. Alrighty, y'all. Take care. I hope you have a beautiful Sunday or whatever day you listen to this. Peace. Alright, that's all I have for you today. Thank you again for joining me. I appreciate you. Please subscribe, follow, like, comment, and share. And stay blessed. Bye.